Hey, I want to do one on the flesh machine. I get asked a lot about it, man. But to be honest, the one I use, I bought. Um, Shit, man. I think it was from like Wasco or something back in. I guess it was the '90s. So I mean, this is going on like 20 years. So I would say, as far as investment goes, like the ones that they sell, like I can't really, I guess, speak for now, but I mean, any day I'm waiting for this thing to go out. Um, because it gets fat on it. Because this one, if you have it behind the platform, the wheel's only sticking out like this much. So if you're trying to do anything bigger, goose, turkey, big duck, it just, I don't know. It just, and it hasn't. I would just say, when people always ask, like, let me show you. It'll get a little noisy. I think it's a quarter power. When I had a new brush, because it used to have a smaller one that came with it that eventually wore out, right? But I have a big file. But I'll just sit there when you get a new one. Just make sure you kind of like, and see, on this one, I like it. The horsepower, it'll stop. So it binds down. So say you're like going up against a bird, or say a bird catches, and instead of it spinning around and just destroying the bird, then it'll just stop and seize up. That way you can turn it off, which, I've had that happen a few times, obviously, but it's just one of those, like, let me slow it down. So whenever I get a new wire wheel, this one is still kind of stiff, like, but again, like for bigger birds, it helps. So it's kind of a trade-off, for like teal or something. I'll just kind of go lightly with it, very lightly, and then obviously a lot of my stuff is on the scissoring process, is where taking the scissors after I wash them, or I should say, after I rinse them off, scissor them, then wash them in soap. But it's just a box I just made with laminated wood. Just laminated. I want to say it's just like 1 by. But that way it kind of helps. And obviously it's screwed just to kind of keep it sturdy. And then I just have a, what are these called? A scraper. Just like a paint scraper. And then actually I have the little remnants here. I was working on some, but, and I'll just scrape. And then from there, I'll put it in a bag like this one. This is from last week. And then that's pretty much it. And then you can dispose of it or do whatever. But then I put borax around, just because no matter how much you clean it, I don't know. It's just better. I just think it's better to have some borax, just to kind of, in case there's any part that in the cracks or crevices, because you can put caulk and stuff, which works great, but over time, it's going to start to come off, or it's going to seep in, or it's going to, come apart a little bit and seep in. So I always have a good amount of borax down. And then other than that, I mean, for as far as like fleshing goes, I'd say I think it's quarter horsepower. And then the main thing is it's obviously a wire wheel that's decent enough RPMs, but it's not going to just keep on blazing through. Like, it is nice to have that where it'll bind down instead of just keep going, because it's going so fast and so strong. And then other thing I would say is, people find this, they have the different coarsenesses. Find the softest one you can, and which is normally going to be way too hard, or is still. But then take a file to it, because like you can't really tell, but like the wires are starting to bend like this way, like, because it's the way it rotates when you have something on there. Actually, I guess I should say it goes this way. Which way is it turn? Okay, yeah. So it goes this way clockwise. So it's going here. Well, then they'll naturally kind of bend, but that's good, because instead of it being straight and sharp, if they're laid over just a little bit, that kind of helps with the surface area, and then that helps where it's kind of, scraping the fat off at an angle, as opposed to just digging straight down. And then that's where I kind of just do with the file and let that kind of go. I need one that's kind of more coarse. This is just one like all-purpose. You know what I mean? Like, it feels a little coarser, but anyway, that's a good way to soften the brush, the wire wheel. And then, like I said, as far as the wheel itself goes, I mean, I believe that's the schematics of it. I don't want to like be held to it, but That's kind of a general starting point, because I know the motor is like the hardest thing to find. But even if you did have to buy one, it's a couple $100. But obviously, as opposed to sitting there scissoring like with a pair of scissors, it's like, you know, definitely worth its money. And you're talking like 24 years later. So anyway, that's the flesh machine.